Welcome back to North of the Broad. We are in the Pat Conroy Center, of course, and the executive director is Jonathan Haupt. He's our last guest in this show. So, Jonathan, good to have you with us.
Thank you.
Let's begin by talking about a podcast that you've been doing, and how successful is that, and what do you talk about? So, welcome.
Sure. Yeah, this is a really interesting opportunity. I went on a radio show and podcast called Authors on the Air back in February to do this live show, and 45 minutes into the conversation, the host, Pam Stack, asked me if on the air if I would come back and guest host every quarter, and naturally I said yes, because who would say no to that? And now it's turned into a monthly show that's been branded for the Conroy Center as Live from the Pat Conroy Literary Center that I now host every month.
At a specific time, or tell us a little bit more?
It's available on any podcast channel afterwards, but we do this usually mid-month on a Wednesday evening, around 7 for the live show, and it's immediately available on all the podcast channels afterwards.
So are you enjoying that?
I really am, yes. For somebody who has virtually no experience on that side of it, it's been a really good fit.
Very cool. All right, so June, what's coming up? We're still virtual, basically. We don't know if we're going to be able to open the center, so you've got other things going on.
So everything that we're putting on our calendar, we're putting on with the expectation that we'll do it online if we're not able to do it in person. And there's been such demand for our writing workshops that we have 3 more of those coming up in June, too. And 2 are repeats. They're sort of sequels to things that we did in April and May. Emily Davis Fletcher, who's here in Beaufort, who's a really wonderful poet and teacher, is going to teach a second 3-session poetry class for us that starts on June 9th. And Estelle Ford Williams, who is a novelist and memoir reader, is teaching a follow-up to her class, Memoir Might Save Your Life, that everybody who took it was so insistent that we offer a sort of expanded version of that we've got her coming up again on June 20th, teaching a second version of that class. And then we have a visiting writer joining us from out of state, Johnny Bernard, who's coming to teach a class for OLLI, for the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute, that public will also have an access to as well. And that is June 18th. We hope that we're having an in-person reading with Johnny for her new novel, Sisters of the Undertow, that evening as well. But if we're not able to do that in person, we'll do it online instead.
What is your gut? What are you thinking? Are you hoping that you'll be able to open, or is it the Zoom sessions are going well, your online presence outstanding?
We're discovering an audience that we never had access to in person, and we don't want to discourage that. So I think we will always continue to have some version of online programming. But locally, there's such an eagerness for people to get back together in something that feels more connected than looking at each other through a screen does, that I certainly hope we've got the opportunity to do Johnny's event in particular in person and start to figure out what that looks like. What does a social distance author program look like in person, whether it's in the Conroy Center or in another facility?
Well, and I was thinking authors that are launching a new book, they go on book tours.
Yes.
So your whole world of publishing and new authors coming out, they have to really rethink their whole manner of working.
It's been a challenge and an opportunity for all of these folks who had spring and summer releases. Some publishers push those books back into next year, just sort of hoping to roll the dice on what those situations might be. But others are going forward, and bookstores, independent bookstores, are holding online events. Other author museums are doing that as well. It's become this really wonderful way for people who are sheltering and educating at home to get an experience that maybe they never would have had in person.
Well, we've talked about it before, but the reach, the beautiful thing is the reach. I mean, whether the podcast or whether you're writing workshops or one of your lectures, you can reach so many people in other countries. And so you would never have had that. So maybe as you move forward, as you mentioned, the duo approach, live and also continue online.
I think that will be it. It will be a hybrid of some kind, because we've made these connections with people who are not physically present in the Low Country, and we want to keep that. We had guests from Spain on our last virtual tour, an international tour of the Conroy Center. So we want to keep that. We want to hold that momentum and those opportunities for people too.
Well, in closing, I just want to say, Jonathan, you do an outstanding job, and your leadership of the Pat Conroy Center is phenomenal.
Oh, thank you,
and this
Robin.
Community, this country is very lucky to have you in this place. So just great. Keep up the great work, okay?
Absolutely.
And we'll talk to you next month. All right. And we'll be back next time with North of the Broad. Bye-bye.